So this podcast brought by you by Roland the Builder or Baby Jesus. My best friend, one of my friends here from Naples, he's Mike. And we have behind the scenes Jay. Say hi to us.
What's going on, guys?
So this is going to be a very interesting podcast because I know Mike been, I guess, 2 years or so.
Yeah.
We met in the event in mini Cashman event. And actually, we never spoke since. So there's going to be a lot of in and out. And questions.
We have. We done.
Yeah, sometimes we had
little conversations. You went and saw the building, and we had dinner with Jay. But
yeah. So he's in real estate, and I'm in construction. So I'm a general contractor, as you guys know, and he's in heavy involved in real estate, and he knows the market very, very well. So I hope I can have the right question, the right time, and then let's just start it. So I will. Just the beginning, since this is the first time we mainly talk. I know you're from Italy. You're Italian,
sure.
And you live in Naples, and you live in Brooklyn, and I don't. That's all I know, pretty much. But I know more about you. It doesn't sound good, but we know each other like a couple of times. So my real question was, how did you get into real estate, and why real estate? And I know a lot of people because of the profit, the margin. It's a very interesting business into, but there is a lot of up and down. So you have to know very, very well what you're doing, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's a great question. So I got the inspiration for real estate when I was very young. Mm-hmm. So kind of an interesting story. So my dad, growing up, we had one house we lived in, one house we rented across the street. It was kind of by accident. But my dad was always not a very educated guy, but a hardworking guy, and he always knew to buy real estate, have the real estate, right? So growing up, we had this house we lived in, house across the street. It was kind of an accident how we ended up with it. My dad put a deposit on it. It was originally for my grandparents to move closer so they could watch us. Because, my father had 3 boys. My mom had a twin. She had 2 boys that lived nearby, and we were always, driving across Brooklyn to drop the kids off at the babysitter, right? Go with grandma. So anyways, my grandfather's like, nah, I'm not moving. You take the house. By this time, my dad already had
So this deposit. Is like a family wide generation. That's how it started.
It started, yeah. So that's how it started. And, so my dad ends up putting the deposit, goes to my mom, like, hey, we're going to lose our deposit, if your parents don't buy it. And then, my mom had been hiding some money from him. And so she ends up buying it, and then shortly after, she passes, and then my dad's left with an empty house, so he starts renting it. And so from a very young age, I was just observing, right? Just observing like the evictions, the turnovers, my dad had done, when I was 8 years old, my dad began an addition on that house. He converted it from like a mother-daughter to like more of a 2-family. It was an accessory apartment. So, I have memories of, helping him to carry the sheetrock, putty the holes, and I was spackling with him, and he'd give me and my brother like $5 each for the day, and like, it was a big deal. He'd go buy McDonald's. That'd get me a number 2 at McDonald's and a meal at the pizzeria, which was a big deal because like we didn't eat out a lot, So anyway, so we had the real estate. My father was real estate rich. We were not, we were very humble beginnings. Like we spent $20 a week at the Pathmark. We never ate out unless it was like a communion and confirmation. No ice cream truck, like no candy, nothing. Like it was like tight, So anyway, so that's where I got the inspiration, So I kind of grew up with it in the back of my mind. Came from a family of builders. My father was a bricklayer in southern Italy before coming here. Very cool. Like handy guy. He eventually would end up in the railroad. But it's an Italian thing, right? Being a mason. Every Italian is like a mason, good with stone. So that's where originally the inspiration came. I was actually in automotive first. I started working at an auto parts store when I was 10. I had a mechanic shop at 22. But when I had my mechanic shop, I did a lot of high-end cars. I was really into electrical programming. I liked the higher-end cars. I was very clean mechanic. Like I walked around with a microfiber cloth. And
Italians like cars. So
yeah. So I enjoyed, the how stuff works kind of thing. I was always very curious. But, the guys that had the Bentleys and the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and the nicer, Audis, Beamers, they were all real estate guys, right? Builders, flippers, mortgage brokers, all around real estate. So I started paying attention, right? So maybe about a year into my automotive business, I had a little extra cash flow, and I was investing heavy in personal development and real estate courses, right? This was before YouTube. Like a lot of the stuff I paid all this money for to learn, like it's probably free now. And so I started, I went to these guru, now they're called guru classes. They probably don't exist anymore. I think my first year I probably spent like $100,000 on real estate courses, flying all over the country and getting education. And so yeah.
How old are you at the time?
I'm 23, 24 years old, yeah. Anyways, that's how I got into it. I don't know if you want me to keep going.
No, you can.
That was the inspiration, yeah. So 10 years old, I started working at an auto parts store. 15 years old, I'm working at the Toyota dealership. Fast forward, I worked at a very high-end shop in Scarsdale, New York, which is like very, wealthy area in the suburbs of New York, about 45 minutes outside of the city. And then...
How old you were when you stepped out from...
The shop? Yeah, so 22, I opened my store. I had a plan to get out in 5 years. I didn't want to die in the mechanic shop. And so probably like a year into it, like I said, once I started being profitable, I had some extra money. I had some lines of credit.
So you made the money converted to real estate to
Yeah, so as soon as I had extra cash, my first business, I was pouring back into the business, and I was pouring into myself. So that's when I started,
personal
Tony. I bought like the full package with Tony Robbins. I bought the full package for real estate. I wanted to flip houses. I wanted to be a real estate guru. All this stuff. So anyway, and then I was doing
You're
similar.
not that far.
I was doing similar because I had a service station. I had the business entrepreneurial mindset. I did general repair, body work, and I bought and sold cars. So I had a used car license. Did some motorcycles. So I had selling cars was like flipping houses, right? I'd find a car that everybody liked and wanted that I'd go to the auction or find it on the street, fix it up, and sell it. Right? So the concept was there for me. It's just real estate was a lot bigger. And so I invested a bunch of money in all these courses, one-on-ones. And, looking back, I made a lot of good connections.
That's how we met, actually.
Right. And I'm still,
Are you still in the group?
Still investing. No, I got out of the group not long ago. Yeah. But that one was more just I wanted to be around, I wanted to be in a better environment. Sometimes you got to pay to get there. So
I 100% should believe, because my story is like, it's the grace of God. I had no plan. I had zero what you had, like no plan. I didn't plan to be a contractor. Actually, when my dad, anytime in my life it's come up like what I want to be, I told my dad 2 things I never want to be: a farmer or a builder. If I have to, I don't know. I cannot. These 2 things I will never want to be, and I become a builder. So when I came to US, I had no plan, no idea. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. The last thing I want to go is construction, and then whatever, God knows why I ended up in construction. So, but I had no plan. I don't want to educate myself because I don't want to do it. So I just tried to push out.
Yeah.
And the more I pushed out, the more I get into. That's the funny thing. So it's insane. So sometimes we're like, when you meant to be, or God, destiny has a plan for you. Yeah. You cannot get rid of it.
Can't resist it.
It's can't resist. It's impossible. So the more I resist it, the more I get into. That's I went to events. I just went to events. Literally, I don't want to go events. Jay and friends called me to events. Before Jay, I was like, no, I don't want to go. I don't know. It's they offered me and I never went to. So I got into this because he was like, you know what, it's going to be good, fun. We're going there. We're going to meet with people. We're going to LA. Oh, I've never been to LA. Okay, that's cool. It's free. Okay, let's go. So that's how I get into, and I ended up meeting with more people and even build a relationship with people. So yeah. And after a while, I was like, okay, looks like this is my destiny. Let's go all in. So that point went into deeper, and everything just started like blowing. I was like, man, okay.
It's amazing, right? When you're in alignment, everything is just Everything just flows.
And it's just crazy. That's why I ask you about
Yeah.
real estate, because I seen and I know some people here in Miami actually they doing Section 8 and it's just blow my mind like how much money. And when I Google about Section 8, I realize a lot of people like steroids. So a lot of people says no automatically.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, let's go deeper, because when people says no, there's always something behind. So
Of course.
I start to searching and I realized Section 8 is like a hidden gem. I was like,
Yeah.
let me call up Mike. We didn't talk much, but I know the guy is super educated and like he knows his stuff. I was like, that was the point when I was like, okay, let's find out him. But actually, I never did it.
Right.
I think the perfect time to know about
Yeah,
what is your recommendation, which way to go since the market and see how the world now is like upside down pretty much. Everybody thinks like it's worth it, not worth it, right time, not right time.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows like what to do now.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. So I don't want to label it Section 8. I want to call it subsidized housing, right? Because there's Section 8 is one form of subsidized government subsidized housing. There's all kinds of programs, right? And that changes from state to state, and I'll talk about what I know. I'm not sure I'm sure there's a form of Section 8 in Miami, but with my experience, I do a lot of it in New York City, and there's so many different programs, and they're amazing. But just to like take a step back, this type of investing is not for everybody. You know what I mean? And so with traditional tenants, obviously, like the more money you have, the less involved in the risk you want to be. But if you're looking for something with a little bit of a higher risk that maybe people are shying away from, there's going to be a little bit more of a reward, right, to do that, because nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
But it's very prevalent in the 5 boroughs. Done a ton of it. So, it's not for everybody. It's definitely something to consider. Definitely, right, there's a lot of way to own rental property. But if you are willing, and if there is a way to go about it. There are good people with vouchers. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks like, they're bad people, they're gangbangers, they're this, they're that. But there's a lot of people that just weren't dealt the right cards. They just need help temporarily for a couple of years to get back on their feet. A lot of these people have jobs, they have good credit, they have families. A lot of them single moms, and single moms with kids that just need help. And but they're there's filtering. Like me as a broker, I'm doing two subsidized housing deals right now in New York, and one in the Bronx, one in Yonkers. And so, whenever I find good people, I want to align them with the right landlords, because there's also good landlords. It's both sides, right? The tenants, those tenants know they have a voucher. They know the payment is guaranteed. And they're looking for someone that's, just going to take care of the place so that the roof is not collapsing or leaking and damaging their stuff and creating mold, which is also very prevalent too. I don't know if you were paying attention, but not long ago there was like a building in the Bronx where a section of it collapsed. So, which I think goes to that goes in another direction.
But I didn't.
I think that goes back to another. That has more to do with rent stabilization. It's a different conversation. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in subsidized housing. I think it's an untapped section of the market. I think there's a lot of subsidized groups that are looking for good people to work with, good builders, good realtors, friendly landlords to take care of the property. And I think there is a way to do it without too much exposure and too much risk. Obviously, you have to have the right people. There's a way to profile, right? There's and not in a unfair way, but when I say profile, I mean like credit checks, background checks.
I think
things like that.
If you made your search in the first step, who you pick, and you make it like super super deep, I think that's gonna filter it very well.
Yeah,
I think that's
so. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of opportunity, especially because anytime there's a section of the business or a section of a real estate that people shy away from, there's always opportunity for people that are willing to do the work, roll their sleeves up, take the extra time to qualify people, and I think it can be very lucrative. I mean, I'm dealing with one program right now that's paying a landlord 6 months up front, a 1 month holdover, and a very generous real estate brokerage fee. There's incentives for first-time landlords. So yeah, I think there's a ton of there's a right way to do it. I think you have to have the right team, the right the right people.
I think we're gonna do another podcast about this.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it. Yeah, but there's a right way to do it. There's people that need help. I don't, it is, I'm talking New York City. There are some places that are a little more rough than others where you have to be mindful, but like it's relative, right? So the more risk you take, if you're taking the risk to entertain those kind of tenants, the risk of things going sour is a bit higher, but there's also a more generous reward. Like you're not going to get the same returns in a traditional way. You know what I'm saying?
Would you recommend to someone if you think about start subsidized house?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I'd recommend it, but I'd also just let them know, like,
make sure.
Yeah, you just gotta understand, like, I mean, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable doing it in Miami. I don't think Miami's like that crazy, but I mean, I got a friend in Pittsburgh that's, there's bullets going through the houses and things like that, and some of the places that he had, and then it's a question of, what does your portfolio look like? Do I want to deal with this? So that's just a question.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's a decision you have to make, and you got to look at it at a full spectrum and say, okay, if it's like, Little Havana or something like that, just a lower working class, lower income area, not that dangerous. Yeah, why not? I think, yeah. So I think there's a way to build it in a healthy way. But you have to be mindful of the areas and just make sure that you're okay going into those areas. Or
do you have Section 8 or
no?
All right.
No, I don't. But I would take a voucher. Yeah, I've always entertained vouchers. I mean, it didn't ever pan out for me. I don't personally. I think last month I had a tenant that sent me a check from a church. They needed some help for a couple months, which is a form of subsidy, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, I would entertain it.
What is your bread and butter like? As commercial?
As an investor or as an investor? Real estate agent. As an investor. So when I began, real estate is so wide, right? I mean, there's so many things you could do. When I began, it was single family fix and flip. So I would find the most common house in an area, like this part of New York. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, raised ranch, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. That was my bread and butter. I loved it. They were built in the 60s. They weren't too old. New York, we got old stuff. Over 100 years, which can get, fun. But when I first started flipping, those were my favorite houses to flip because they had cinder block foundations.
Yeah.
They were raised ranch. They're somewhat. It's like an oversized shed, and then it's like I call it the cheeseburger of real estate in that place. Everyone loves a cheeseburger, right? So I'm not trying to get anything outside of the box. I just want to sell the most common product because that's where the biggest pool of buyers are, right? That's what I learned in these real estate courses. So in the beginning, when I was flipping single family, that was my bread and butter, but now, I got to a point where I was flipping, 4 or 5 houses at a time. I'm running a sales business, and it just became too much. And I was doing a lot of GC work myself, where I could, when I could afford to on the jobs, where I didn't need, and I could outsource like a license to a electrician, plumber, and then I would, handle the guys for the rest.
So you were a project manager at the same time?
Yeah, I was a project manager. I had a real estate sales team, and I was at about 5 houses at a time, and then the interest rates changed, and then a lot of my profits dropped. I never lost money with real estate, but it did minimize some of the profits on those, 10, 20,000 across 5, 6 houses. It adds up. So, and that's when I made the decision. I had done my first, commercial project. I finally had a big chunk of cash, and I said, and I had learned about commercial in the beginning, but it was just like so above my head. It just seemed so far. And so after I had some experience with the single family homes, I felt comfortable, with commercial. Yeah. So I bought a mixed use property. It was my first commercial property. It was 3 stores, 4 apartments. All the rents were below market, like very low. The guy that bought it from had like over 100 units, and you can just tell it was just they were not not very thrilled with maintaining this one. It was older, it needed love, and these guys had a big portfolio. They were not like in a rush to throw money at it. You know what I mean? They had bought it at a good price. They were happy just keeping it full and renting.
They were in the business already. That was your beginning.
That was my beginning. Yeah. So, I got the deal with a seller finance note. I got a 30-year term at 5%. So the guy gave me I think I put $12,000 deposit on a $1.25 million building, and he gave me enough time to sell another property I had some equity in, and did the deal. So it was off market. It's like a handshake deal. I think I borrowed from a 0% credit card to put the deposit, and then I just sold one house, closed on the next one, and it was a great project for me.
So now you're doing.
I went from like on the commercial side. I think I went from like $9 a foot on the commercial stores to $25 a foot on the first floor, and then I like just for example, one apartment the guy wanted to rent was vacant at the time I was in contract. I'm like, no, please leave it vacant. It was just a disaster. It was old. It smelled funny. It was just weird cabinets and kitchen design and layout. It was just, and I think he wanted like $1,300 for a 2-bedroom, and I'm now renting that same apartment for $2,000. So slowly, and then I realized. So that was that first property was the one that kind of opened my eyes, and I realized like I started to remember like what I learned about commercial real estate 10 years before, and then I saw how the evaluation changed, the cash flow changed. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it. Like, do I grow and scale the single family business and do 10 houses instead of 5, which was stressful? Or do I just do one big project where I'm getting paid while I'm doing it? If I have multi-tenant, right, I'm just, okay, I do one apartment at a time. I do one store at a time. It's manageable. I'm not like carrying these high interest loans. I'm not going broke from one project, recycling it to the next. I'm like, my card's not getting declined when I go to buy coffee, Like the building's paying me. I have depreciation. I have write-offs, and it's and the multiplier is much bigger. So that's when I started opening my mind to like commercial. So now that's my bread and butter. Now is I love neighborhood centers. So like anything, 10 to 15,000 square feet, B and C class assets and good locations, good density. You kind of know how we look at things. And I learned a lot from Manny, but I think. It's like your storefronts that are, barbershops, offices, attorneys, small food, delis. These are businesses that are recession proof. You know what I'm saying? They're not too big. They're small stores, 1,000 to 2,000 square feet each. You have versatility with multi-tenant, so not too much
reflect
exposure.
your commercial portfolio, what is going in the market right now? Because now is everybody expecting, like, even many said that 2 years ago, what is going to happen now? So you can kind of
how is it? So your question was, what's my anticipation of the commercial market?
Yes.
I mean, commercial is a wide term. So like you have different asset classes within commercial, right? You have industrial, you have office, you have retail. I think retail, like the neighborhood center retail, right? It's not going anywhere. Like no matter what happens, your barbershop's going to be there.
Yeah.
Your hair salon.
Longest people here.
Your hair salon's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Like your bodega's going to be there. Like, and it's.
So you're not even doing anymore.
So right now in Florida, like in Naples, I know the numbers in Naples. There's a 96.5% occupancy rate for retail. Wow. Close to the same in office, believe it or not. 96.5% of commercial retail is occupied. All right, that's a pretty good number, right?
It's a pretty good number.
And so right now, right, that's one sector of retail. Big box retail, on the other hand, I think is going to change, right? Like Best Buy, Staples, Office Depot. Yeah. Like, nobody goes into Staples anymore. I mean, you can Amazon a notebook tomorrow, Maybe to use the printer, but why do you need all that? Think about how big a Staples is. It's monstrous.
Yeah, I'm still surprised
Staples,
about Best Buy. It's still open.
I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of Best Buy. I wouldn't get into that deal.
He said they're laundering money.
I mean, I don't know that deep into it, but I do know look, even Walgreens is shutting down stores across the country. I mean, I think there's going to be a day where Walgreens and CVS, if they don't adapt, Amazon is going to wipe them out. So all these,
true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I said I'm surprised it's still open, Best Buy.
And what's taking, I'm surprised. But it could be, there might be a zombie company. I haven't studied Best Buy that much, but I am suspect of these type of
maybe they invested
certain
in
type
Amazon.
of assets, Dude, Amazon's going to crush them, man. I mean, you're going to Best Buy. The one thing is you get the service, right? You get to see the sound system. You get to see everything in person. But then you look at it and then you look at Amazon and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to order on Amazon, right? So the conversion rate, I think in Best Buy has to be dropping. Again, I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah, like those stores, those big box stores are gonna close.
Yeah, even with that, like I remember getting some camera equipment there, and then having to go ahead and like do the return process. I gave them cash, and they're like, "Wait, we don't have $4,000 in the whole building in cash." Yeah. I'm like,
what?
What
kind of world do we live in?
What are you talking about? Like, so I was talking with the managers, and they're like, "Yeah, we barely have like $10,000 throughout the whole day if it's a busy day to do anything." So I'm like, bro, like, what are you guys doing in terms of sales? Like, are you guys even making money to like? I would think just to own the facility is gonna cost you $5, $6, $7, $8, maybe $10,000 in just rent. But like, if you're not selling anything in here, and then the quality of people that come in here, like, are they really converting?
I don't think so. It's not as much as you think. I think they convert more with the offers, like the 0%, right?
Okay.
Hey, we'll give you a card for $6,000 at 0%. We'll give you exclusive deals at Best Buy. Like one time I was flipping a house and I bought an appliance set for that reason, and they gave me an extra TV. So there's those offers that I think will incentivize people to go there. I mean, 0% credit to me, it's like free money. I'm like, okay,
facts.
Free money. It's another line of credit. It looks good for me. I'm gonna spend the money anyways. But how many people are going in and buying a Bose surround sound with cash? Nobody. Man.
No, I don't think.
I mean, I went to the bank one time, and I wanted to pull out like $120,000. And you got to see, they were acting like I was stealing the money.
Yeah.
I felt like a criminal. I'm like, dude, I gave it to you.
This is my money.
They're like, where's your security? Where's your truck? I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right?
This is only $120,000.
I'm telling you, these people were scrambling. They didn't know what to do. It's so weird, man.
Yeah. No,
they're like, where's your security? I'm like, what's security? They're like, no, you need. Are you being threatened? Or like, I'm like, no. Like, I need to pay the guys, when you're, right?
But every week when I go to the bank, when I give them a check, they will take it, no question.
No question. But yeah, dude, I had to order the money.
Yeah.
I had to order the money, and then they had to split it. Because like, I'm not hiring security. Like, give me 50,000 at a time, Like,
yeah.
And even then, like, it was just the weirdest.
I mean, but like, if you really think about pretty much how the whole banking system is here in the United States, they will tell you to put your money in the banking system, but it's not for your own benefits or security. It's for them to play with your money, to multiply with those money, to get loans, to lend it out, to make more money on top of the money. So then now when you have someone saying, hey, I need $120,000 right now. They're like, wait.
They don't have it because they're lending it. First of all, it's a numerical value on a balance sheet. Number one, mostly.
Facts.
They don't have it, and yeah, you give them $1, and they're going to lend it out 9 times. You give Chase $1, they're going to give you a Chase Sapphire card and charge you 20 to 26% on the money based with the basis, right, of the money that your deposit.
Facts.
They're using your deposit to make the spread of 20 to 26% on you.
Facts.
I mean, that's how the banks work, right? But nobody knows that.
Yeah.
They didn't teach that in economics in high school.
Yeah.
For the banks is worth.
But save your money.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
Dude, real estate, man. Who wins in the I think the whole, single family home, own your own home was sold by the banks. It was a dream that was sold by the banks.
It is
because who's attached to every home? It's a home loan.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
So the banks are winning.
So what would you advise people, especially when they're trying to get into real estate? Because I myself, I always make a joke because majority of my clients are realtors.
Really?
Yeah, like the Pace Morby's in the space.
No way. I love Pace Morby.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So every single time they ask me, they're like, all right, cool. What have you invested in real estate? I always make the joke of like, hey, I invest into the digital real estate, right, of where we live in now. But what would you tell someone right now that's actually trying to get into real estate that actually has proper liquid cash, right, and assets to go into it? Like, what's the best route to get into? Is it single family when you're up and coming? Is it wholesale? Yeah. Is it sub 2? Like, what do you think?
I love this. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, it's a wide question, and I think it really depends on the person. But if let's say you came to me and you're like, all right, I'm making money in business. I got, $200,000 or $300,000 I want to put to work. There's a couple things you could look at, right? You could look at, one option would be, do you want to be involved? or do you want to continue building your media company? At this point, it looks like you're busy, right? Let's use you as an example, right?
Okay.
So you have your media company, you got some excess cash, and you come to me and you're like, hey man, what do you think? I got whatever, I got 300 grand, I want to put it to work. And I'm like, you know, you're a high income earner. I'm like, all right, well, maybe you could use some write-offs too, right? Nobody wants to pay tax. And I love real estate because real estate's multifaceted, right? You can't buy paper and get a write-off. You can't buy stock, can't buy Apple and take a deduction like that, right? Real estate, you can.
Facts.
So I would say, do you want to be a part of it? And you're going to tell me no, because I'm a media guy and I don't want to mess around with tenants and things like that. So I could say, all right, well, we could do, you know, that we could JV on something. You know, the next deal I get, I'll present it to you. Here's a shopping center I'm going to flip. There's 150% return. Here's what I'm going to do. You're going to do nothing. You make the contribution. I'll keep you updated. It's a 2-year project. Here's your return. We could do a JV deal, right? Me and you.
Okay.
All right. The next option would be you could look at a syndication, right? So a syndication is where, like I'm sure you're familiar with Grant Cardone. It's become very popular since COVID. It could be us. Maybe we form a syndication and we're like, okay, we're all going to raise money to do a deal. But again, you're not involved in it. It's like, but you know, with that kind of structure, you really got to know, I think it would be wise to know what you're investing in, who you're investing in.
Okay.
Right? What the track record is. And the obligations, right? You want to run it by an attorney, see what your risks are. And then, but you would have a piece of that real estate. You'd have, like, let's say, you know, your 300 grand, you'd have the deduction for, let's say you're a third of a partner. You'd have 33% of the deduction in that building, right? And then what I like about those projects is you could leverage a bigger deal. So you're a small partner, bigger deal, you're not doing anything, you get the same benefits. So there's a lot of guys, like Rob Deerdeck does a lot of that. So you can be invested in real estate, not be a part of it, but still get all the benefits of it. But those are the kind of conversations I would be having with someone like you. Does that make sense?
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you, 100%. So pretty much for anyone that's trying to get into the real estate game, you have to craft it with a certain profile of how you want to get into it. So whether you're going to be hands-on, hands-off, if you're going to be investing X amount, or you're going to get monthly returns, yearly returns, or whatever the case is on that. So it's pretty much just crafting it to your lifestyle and like how you want to operate in that deal.
Right. It's like, what do I want out of this investment? It's like, I got this excess cash. Most people want to multiply, right? Me, I want to multiply it. I want the money to grow.
Facts.
I want depreciation, right? Because we're high income earners, and I need to offset this income I'm making, right? And I don't want to pay tax. A big reason people invest is so they don't pay tax, right? If I reinvest it, then there's nothing at the bottom line to tax.
Facts.
So do I give it to the IRS, or do I go and make it illiquid and put it in real estate that's going to grow, pay me every month, and provide deductions, right? So I want real estate. I want the real estate, right?
Facts. So, all right. So with that being said, one of my favorite questions I love to ask people, because it's not about what you talk about. It's all about what have you actually, you know, not just done talk the talk, but you've walked the walk. Right. So what is your portfolio looking like right now? So how many years have you been in real estate, and what is your portfolio currently right now?
Yeah, so I started about 9 years ago.
Okay.
In the beginning, it was just to, stack the chips. So I was flipping, constantly turning over. Flipped about 3 dozen houses, and then had some equity in a house, bought the commercial building. Right now I have 13 units, and it's a mix of commercial and residential.
Okay.
I'm picking up I'm in contract to buy, I'm actually buying a restaurant with a building right now, another one, which is adjacent to the property I have in New York, the commercial one that I was talking about. So I'm picking up another commercial store and 3 apartments. So that'll be 17 probably in the next month or so.
Fire.
Yeah. But I'm working on getting rid of the residential and getting more in. I like commercial better because, like, with residential, they're calling me for everything. Toilet leaks, the AC drain, the this, the that.
But you don't have like a property manager that would like handle all that?
I mean, at this point, I use leverage, right? I'm not doing all of it. I'm in different states. You can ask Roland, and I'm all over the place. So I'm in different states. Like right now, like I had a water issue in New York. Like I'm not there. I'm calling stuff, but I'm still involved.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm a real estate professional. It's like at this point, if I had a syndication with 300 units, no, I'm not going to manage it myself because there's enough room in that deal for mechanics to be,
Gotcha.
for a management company to be there 24/7, for mechanics to be there, et cetera. And then you outsource, whatever the handyman can't do.
Facts.
With a small portfolio like what I have, I'm a real estate professional. I'm still involved. Do I rent a lot? I have another agent that rents my units in Florida and does the turnover and does the renovation. But I'm still the one making the decision as far as yes, no, how we're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still involved in some way. So I'm kind of overseeing the management. Yeah.
Got you. Alrighty.
That's why I can 100% agree because I am right now, I call myself a residential professional.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the middle of like converting from residential to commercial because it's just, commercial projects are way easier to handle. The tenant in your position, my position,
Right.
the homeowner is in my back nonstop.
Well, think about this, right? When you have a commercial store to renovate, to deliver to a business, right? It's a white box.
Yeah.
It's a white box.
That's how they called
It's
a first. When they asked me for the first price, they asked me what's the white box. So it's just
right.
like empty.
So I'm delivering an
nothing.
empty shell. You're gonna
Empty
build it
shelf.
out. Like if you're a hair salon, you're gonna
With
build
a
it
little
out.
bit like offset, nobody care.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give you a couple months rent.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna call me. Like it's in your lease. It's triple net. Like you're taking care of the AC. You're taking care of the plumbing, the electric, the toilet breaks.
Oh, yeah.
I just make sure the roof doesn't leak. Anything outside is on me, and anything inside the box is on you.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with business owners, right? So it's like
It's totally different.
much easier people to deal with. That's why I like commercial. It's mailbox money. That's why people buy CVSs, right?
Yeah,
Or
facts,
Walgreens
facts.
and things like that because CVS is a triple net lease. They're gonna do the snow removal. They're gonna fix the roof when it's broken. They're a nationally accredited tenant with tremendous amount of money on the balance sheet. Like they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But the return's gonna be lower on it. You're gonna pay a premium. You're gonna get a smaller return, but it's safe, right? Versus the opposite, where if you go to the Section 8, it's more management intensive. You're gonna get a little more money, right? So it's relative. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, got you. So for Roland, you've been doing construction for how many years?
Today is going to be actually since 15, sorry. 2015,
Awesome.
so it's been like 9 years. So
9 years. So same question goes back to you. What is your portfolio? Because you've been in construction, you've been working on these homes, but like at what point did you say, all right, cool, let me change the narrative and actually start investing into these properties and take part of that ownership?
I'm mainly. So what's your question actually like in a residential?
So like, what's your portfolio?
Basically, my portfolio. I started like from beginning scratch, no profit, nothing, no construction background, and then now this year, we already did 80 million sell by August.
Okay.
We had like 74 project sent out, and we signed 23. So you can make the math.
And that's with the construction.
That's this year.
So like, what do you
residential?
That's fire. So what do you personally own? Like,
I'm also owning. I have a Section 8 in Homestead right here.
fire.
Nice.
One.
Nice.
But we have 6 homes, actually, residential homes all over Miami. We have it. We have. Actually, it's very funny because we kind of all over in Miami. So we don't have like a one location. I personally like to always experience different areas to see how it goes. But we have like few homes here in Miami, single family homes rented, and one we have one residential. Section 8. That's all. But I'm really thinking on heading to Section 8, as I asked and mentioned before. But since I have like pretty much all my real estate knowledge went to a few events, talked to people, but I'm a very broad person. I don't scare anything. If I put in my mind, I just go for it.
Yeah, I love that.
So
That's true.
I'm like, I'm like, I started construction, I signed $1 million of deals. And then when I went out from the event, from the meeting, I was like, okay, so now we have to sit down and talk about how we're going to do it. So I'm ready to sign. I'm not scared of anything.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, okay, this is the time. I make the call. As you know me, you just drop me something and I go for it. And I'm like, go until I get it. So my goal, be honest, to at least reach like a 30-40 like Section 8 residential home portfolio. And that's why I'm trying to go like out of Florida, where like a very low income, very cheap home. So if I lose, because in my head,
that's exposure.
Yeah, exposure.
Yeah.
And when I have the knowledge and I have the drive, let's go to the bigger market. So.
Facts. So what have you guys done in terms of like work with one another? So like has Roland worked on any like construction jobs on anything?
No, it's not true.
No, we were, I was...
price it out on something.
Yeah, I was in contract with a property, I think it was 40 units in Havana.
Yeah. 40 units.
Little Havana. And so I was doing my due diligence. So he did walk the building for me.
Yeah.
And he FaceTimed me and he was telling me how much of a piece of shit it was.
Yeah.
No, but that's about it. We haven't actually done any, paid work together outside of that.
Not yet.
But he's my guy. He's my guy on this side that I definitely recommend. We were teetering around with some new construction in Dania Beach, and he was part of that conversation. So, but yeah, outside of that, we haven't really done much.
Last week you were with me when actually I didn't mention. I have partners, like we mentioned in the beginning. I have investors, actually. I was able to go out influence from people about real estate, and they get interested, and then we start to developing and building family homes in Cape Coral. That's what we visited last week. So I have a friend, Jorge was in our podcast months ago or two, and then with him we started building actually residential homes. So at this moment we have together, like we're building together a few homes, but we're planning to get out and do more. We actually bought like 10 of them, just lands. When they were like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Now the lands in Cape Coral are like 90, 80, $100,000. And you can put a house like a 550, something like that, and you can put in the market like 850. But now, as you know, Cape Coral market, the inventory is like, it's in the sky. So this is not a perfect time. So maybe we're gonna sit on this
the
house
market.
for
Florida,
a while.
I think Florida as a whole is softening.
Yeah.
Since I want to say like fourth quarter last year, started to notice. We have rising inventory, almost like demand kind of like disappeared.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just the West Coast, because I have a little team that covers, I would say from like Cape Coral down to Marco Island. But, I'm doing some business here in Miami, talking to the guys in Orlando, I have friends in Tampa, and I'm seeing like, even my own building where I rent in Naples, it's like you see they're offering me like incentives to sign and lower rent, you know what I'm saying? So look, we had you got to take into context like what just happened, right? So we had COVID, we had this explosion of people that wanted freedom and wanted to come to Florida because it's pro-business, no masks, no vaccines required to go to the restaurant, right? So this is like two different worlds when I came here. And, so we did this huge expansion. But at some point, it has to, it has to slow down. So we're at the point where we have oversupply now. Yeah. And, a lot of people I think are on the sidelines with the election and, what's happening in the world, right? It's crazy. But it's definitely turned into a buyer's market. It's still, it's nowhere close to what it was in like 2019. It's still high, comparatively, but you can kind of see the top of the curve. Yeah, and real estate is slow, and it may take, take time for it to normalize and adjust, but I think it's normal after any expansion to do that. But, I was just on the phone with one of my mentors a week or so ago when they had the Fed meeting, and, Powell came out and spoke, and they made the decision to like officially drop the rates publicly. It sounds like they're anticipating in the fourth quarter that, there's going to be lower rates, which is going to trigger more activity, right? Because now you have, from 7% to 5%, you just introduced a big pool of buyers that couldn't afford the houses anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to help the market. It looks like they're anticipating Trump's going to get in, and I think they're anticipating another bull run for the next 2 years. But following. But I hope it does continue to,
What is your thoughts?
drive the market in Naples. What are my thoughts? I mean, look, I have my head. My head is in New York and in Florida, right? So in New York, we like greater New York area of New York of New York City, right? So that's anything within an hour of Manhattan is what I cover. Sometimes I'm in the city. In that part of the world, and maybe like New York is not a good example because it's not really comparative to anything else in the country. But in Westchester County, 1 hour north of Manhattan, I still have bidding wars. I mean, I put a house on, and in 5 days I have 100 showings and 5 to 10 offers. And they're, just did a deal in South Salem. Again, it's like, I would say an hour from the city. $87,000 over the asking price. I mean, $150,000 on another one over the asking price. I mean, it's not unusual because New York has so much density and so much wealth. And I mean, I'm getting proof of funds. People got millions of dollars in their bank accounts, right? So, and like they're competing with, my generation, which are the millennials, first-time home buyers. And it's so there's a shortage of supply, an extreme amount of density and wealth. And following 2008, there was a shortage of building, new construction, because the builders got hammered so badly, and with a combination of a restriction and expansion with infrastructure, right? So we have, what a lot of people don't know is in the Hudson Valley, like the Hudson Valley holds a lot of the reservoirs that feed New York City. So right, so the water that's supplying the city of 10 million people is in the suburbs, right? So, and it's very well protected. So they're very slow to incentivize expansion because anytime there's an expansion, right? How is the waterway going to be affected, right? So we have a very slow expansion, and an influx of people, right? So it's definitely an infrastructure problem in that part of New York. It's not like Florida. You come here, you can build. They're happy.
Yeah.
You walk into the building department, they're happy. Over there, it's like you got to get it. You got to see some of these subdivisions, like the DEP, I mean the stormwater. I mean, there's probably $100,000 in Coltech systems for stormwater drains. To build it's very difficult for a builder to be profitable. So the expansion is slow. But it's kind of created this environment where we have extremely low inventory still. So I think New York is going to be fine regardless of what happens. Right now I'm a little suspect of Florida. It's softening. The buyers, there's a lot of seller incentives. But you got to remember, Florida is also, it's known to be like an extremely volatile state. So anytime there's swings, like Florida is the first one to show its colors, and it's the first one to get hit the hardest, right? If you look back at 2008, Florida took a huge hit compared to New York. So, am I optimistic that the market will like level out and pick up? Yeah, for sure.
That's what I want to ask.
But yeah, if I believe if the Fed continues to lower rates, what controls the market are interest rates, right? The more people can afford. If we're at 8%, you just decreased the amount of buyers, the amount of available buyers in a market, right? If we work our way back to 4 or 5% where we were prior to COVID, there's so many people that are now introduced. Right, so many first-time homebuyers have just entered the market again. Now you have a pickup.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Now you have more transactions because there's more available people to buy. So I think if Trump gets in, and if rates continue to drop like they say they will, I don't see why it wouldn't. You know what I mean? And then you got to also remember, a lot of people are holding onto their homes because they have a 3% rate, 2.5% rate. So yeah, they just made all this equity, they made all this money, but they're like, okay, well, I gotta get into a 7-8% rate. And I'm paying a higher price. So a lot of people are just sitting on the sidelines waiting.
Yeah, that's.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of that because they're holding on to the 2.5% interest rate, which is 95% of the country right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody refinanced.
So do you think I made the good decision buying homes last year?
In Florida?
Yeah.
It's relative, right? Did you plan on holding it, or are you flipping?
I was planning to, by end of this year, refinance, get it out, and put it down for 3
if I was you, I would wait. I would wait for the rates to come down. and refinance when the time is right.
Yeah.
You're
That
also,
was
you're,
my plan last year.
yeah, they will drop. I think by next year, we'll be in the fives.
And what do you think at this moment? Are we in is going to be a soft landing or hard landing?
Soft landing.
Soft.
Yeah.
That's what
I think
they
it's gonna level out.
really they try.
I think it's going to level out. Yeah, with the inflation numbers,
Mm-hmm.
they have to reduce the rates now. There's no reason to keep them where they are, right? It's all, the Fed is trying to balance the economy, right? So now the inflation is down to 3%.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, we could lower the rates a little bit. You know what I mean?
I have an interesting question about crypto. Are you believer, not believer, or what do you think how crypto is going to affect the market? Because as Trump said, he's going all in on crypto. And then
Yeah.
I think the debt of the country can be balanced and saved with crypto if they changing the fiat.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I think that's
I'm not a
big-
crypto guy, I'll be honest. But here's how I look at it. I mean, if you're buying it as an investment, you're buying something with the speculation that it's going to go up one day. You know, and I'm not a fan of that. Again, I like real estate because it's multidimensional. I got cash flow, I got deductions, I got appreciation. Like I have all these benefits with one asset, right? That's why I like real estate versus paper or crypto, right? But do I think crypto is the future? And it's I think crypto is a hedge against the U.S. dollar, the volatility of
It
the
is.
U.S.
It
dollar.
does.
I think it's a hedge against the government seizing your bank account and taking everything from you, which happened during COVID, right? A lot in Canada and a lot of examples of that. So is it safer? Is it not regulated? It's not controlled by the Fed or an interested party of a country. It's not dependent on, right? Because we can't control what's happening with the dollar.
Correct.
The Fed controls what they do with the dollar, and they can print money whenever they want. They don't call up Roland and ask you, hey, do you mind if we print money? No, they just printed trillions of dollars, more than they ever printed in history in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it doesn't matter because the real estate I own, it's not like if you have cash sitting in the bank account, yeah, you're going to get hurt if the dollar changes. But my assets are illiquid, and it's always relative to, for me, like inflation is good. My assets just continue to increase in price.
Inflation is good
So
for
whether you're
everything.
paying me in
Yeah.
Bitcoin or dollars, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna level out for me. I'm gonna end up with what the property's worth, no matter what. It's like a commodity, right? Price of bread, price of eggs. It will constantly fluctuate with the change of the dollar. So yeah, I think it's like for those qualities, I would love to see it being traded instead of using bank money.
I did
You
an
know what I mean?
interesting. I was calculating how much you can make on crypto and how much you can make on real estate. So
I mean, it's different.
beginning of this year, I
It's
made a
different.
decision. Crypto goes harder than
Yeah.
real estate, so I invested heavily in crypto
Right.
based on. So my thoughts was if Trump goes and gets elected, my crypto is gonna make a lot of money. More,
Right.
I can make more than in real estate. And when he gets elected, after the bull run, I'm gonna take it out. I'm going to
Buy real estate.
Yeah.
I got a lot of clients that do
that's
that.
what I
Yeah.
actually did.
Yeah. My brother's really into it. So it's like I said, it's never. I suggest you invest in what you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not wise for not buying it. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of money at it and see what happens. I know it's on the rise. My brother just sent me a picture the other day.
Yeah. So the reason why I did it,
So-
like make my portfolio bigger so I can go harder in real estate because I believe also real estate is the way to go. But there is always good things and new things come up, which is going to be a long run is going to be amazing. So
Sure.
I'm not saying I'm putting everything in my bucket, but I'm using as a strategy, invest and go to real estate. That's my
Yeah, man. If you invest,
really
listen. Whether you
Yeah.
want to diversify or not, it's up to you.
Yeah.
It's I'm not diversified. I diversify in real estate. Like I have multiple tenants and multiple assets, but
So if somebody
I don't know enough of I don't know enough about crypto to buy it.
yeah.
Maybe I'll send a little bit of money there because I don't care if I lose it. But that's where I'm at.
Are you helping people, or if someone, let's say, from our friendship, like coming around and he wants to learn about real estate, and then are you actually have a course, or are you helping people, or
No, I've
you
always
teaching people, or are you just
No, I've thought about
by
it.
yourself?
No, I've thought about doing a course, and I probably will. But I haven't done a course. you know, I've had people come to me that say they want to learn investing. I've done coaching one-on-one. It's not something I advertise, but it's really like, it's really just helped me be a better broker because people, I tell people, like, I have millions of dollars in the game. I know it very well. Like, all my money is in this. Like, I'm not another realtor who's never bought a home before.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting on the sidelines. I'm doing what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah, got it.
So it has value to me personally, like my personal brand as an advisor and as an investor, as someone who's raised money to do deals, as someone who's, you know, I've had clients that want to partner with me, things like that. But no, I don't advertise coaching or anything like that.
And what is your long-term goal? Because now we know what you do, what you pro at it.
Yeah.
What's your future like portfolio? What you wanna extend to commercial? But do you have any like future goals? What's
my next goal for my portfolio, I want my portfolio to be valued at 10 million at 12% or better returning. I'm almost there, and so that's my next goal. And then, you know, I'm picking up my first restaurant right now, and I don't know. Both my brothers are chefs. I've always been like, you know,
it's Italian.
I'm Italian. Yeah, it's just in the blood. And you know, I do have aspirations to have like a little hospitality group. You know, my goal is 10 restaurants.
Here,
you know.
West Coast, or mostly
right now I'm focused on New York.
New York.
But I'm open. You know, I'm open. I feel like I have the support in New York. You know, not that I want to be in them, but I see restaurants as a cash flowing asset. You know what I mean? I love restaurants in that sense, and I love, you know, being a part of it. I love how it, you know, how it expands a network. You know, so I was inspired by these restaurant guys in New York, and you know, I got a friend that I joke with, and I'm like, damn, like this guy just makes brokers look like shit. You know, he's been in the restaurant business like over 25 years, and
he knows everything.
And the real estate deals this guy does is just unbelievable. But it's all because he leveraged his network in the catering and restaurant business, you know? So it's like, so if I can shake hands and do events and, you know, take my sales and marketing skills and my background in small business, you know, and of course own the real estate, because you're kind of like double dipping, right? Now I have the tenant and I have the property, you know, and it makes sense to do that. You know, I think it's cool. I like being creative. I like, you know, like I went to Columbia and I got inspired. I got a lot of great ideas, you know, so I'm thinking like, oh, maybe you know, first one's an Italian restaurant, but maybe I'll do a Colombian restaurant, you know, something cool. And, you know, I get to do business with my brothers, and
that's a great idea.
So it's cool, man.
I get a lot of connection when before construction, I actually work in a restaurant here in the river, Miami.
Right.
And I was a busser. And then the amount of connection and then shaking people like celebrities, real estate people, like crazy.
Yeah. I just want to shake people's hands, man.
It's like, so actually it's crazy because when I met you guys about 2 years ago or so, Jay always talking about like, let's do it. Like people you know, like you can make wealth based on knowing people. That's it. I was like, man, I'm gonna stay on my line. I'm gonna do construction, and then I come to find out this 6 months, all my deals was based on knowing people. That's it. So that's why
it's all sphere of influence. It's all your network, right? And
that's
so
who you know.
Yeah, for me, it's like, you know, it's a great place to generate cash. Like I really look up to like Tillman Fertitta. You know what I mean? Real estate guy. I love the hospitality business. I love real estate. You know, instead of me going and investing in Apple or something, I like to have control over the business. And, you know, I had a small business and I understand the mindset. And so I have the small business background. And then I also have, when I got into the real estate profession, I really learned how to market. I really learned marketing and sales. Like when you have a blue collar business, right? Like a mechanic shop, like everybody's coming to you. Everybody's coming to you because it's been a mechanic shop since 1970. Like that was my case, right? And then people get to know you, they like you. You know what I'm saying? You show up to the meetings. When I started marketing to the people that already spent money with me, already knew, liked, and trusted me, like I did my first text message blast. I think I had a $20,000 day. I had more. It was my biggest day in the shop, and I had more cards than I had spaces. I was just overwhelmed. I called the guy that did it. I'm like, no more. You know, so it wasn't until the end of that business and like getting into real estate where I learned sales and marketing. And like a lot of restaurants aren't doing any marketing.
No.
You know, they're just like, oh, we're word of mouth. And I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, I hear opportunity, but I also hear like, I can't believe that's how you run your
I would
business.
like to do the
you know?
next podcast when you open your restaurant in
Yeah,
in
man,
New
I'd love
York.
to. You got to come out.
So we're
I
gonna go
think I'm
there
gonna
with
do it.
Jay.
I'm gonna
and
do a
we're
party.
gonna do
Yeah, you guys got to come out. You guys got to come out. It's gonna be great, man.
Yeah, that will be great. So I'm very drilled, and actually I'm gonna be one of your for person who's gonna learn about construction. I mean, real estate. So maybe I'll
Yeah, man.
go
I'm
personal and
I'm an open book.
yeah.
Yeah.